Live from the Business RadioX studio in Atlanta, it's time for Dental Business Radio, brought to you by Practice Quotient. Practice Quotient bridges the gap between the provider and payer communities. Now here's your host, Patrick O'Rourke.
Hi there, friends of Dental Business Radio. This is your host, Patrick O'Rourke, here on a Friday afternoon with John Ray, our producer. Before we get started, I want to make sure to thank our sponsor, Practice Quotient, PPO analysis and negotiation. Top tier representation for top tier providers. If you are a top tier provider and you do not feel like you are getting top tier compensation, you should contact the fine professionals at Practice Quotient, 470-592-1680, www.practicequotient.com. If you don't know how to spell quotient, ask your kids in high school. Thank you. So with that, I'm really excited today. We're going to have a great show. John Ray, I hope you're ready. The intellectual brilliance in this room is so bright. We better put on some shades.
That looks good.
I got my shades on. All right. So with me is Josh Roland and Stuart Oberman. How are you, gentlemen?
Good. How are you?
I am alive and well. Thank you, sir.
On a sunny day. Good.
On a sunny day.
It's great to be here with you.
Well, it's great to see you, Josh Roland. It's been a little while.
It has.
Yeah. So, what we're going to do, I think, is let's start with you, Josh Roland. Josh Roland, by way of introduction, so I've known Josh for a long time, and
over a decade.
Yeah,
at least.
And when I met Josh, I was working over at Humana, and I did large and jumbo group sales, and what that means is large and jumbo group employers. Over 100 employees, over 1,000 employees. Really, the bigger the better. And so I would go to the different benefit houses and the brokerage houses, and Josh and his partners over there were a little bit different than most brokers. And I think of intellectual powerhouse, but when I go in there, when I went in, you didn't care if I took you to, CHOPS. You didn't care what the bonus program was. You didn't care about any of that. You just cared if you knew what you were talking about. And if you didn't know what you were talking about, you probably wouldn't get another meeting at that office.
Yes.
Right. And that's one of the things I really respected about you and all of your colleagues. There's like no bullshit. You guys know this stuff inside and out and can smell the carrier rep and the sizzle sometimes and see through it.
That's really all a broker has to offer in that space is intellectual capital. Anybody can get quotes from a carrier. So at some point the broker is unnecessary unless that broker is bringing an intellectual, menu of topics to the table to help consult, not just present a pile of insurance products to buy. Because really all we do in the end is sell somebody else's promise. And so we have to be able to bring a significant degree of consultative power to that relationship as well.
Gotcha. Excellent. So let's back this up a little bit because I'm real familiar with what a benefit broker does. But for all of our listeners on Dental Business Radio, we have a lot of folks that are providers, right? So just think dentists, oral surgeons, periodontists, and they're not familiar with the distribution channel. And so what do you do as far as dental? So why do employers offer dental? And then what are they bringing you in to do? And then how are you evaluating the dental product options in any given market?
Sure. And that's a great question. So there are a large number of dental insurance carriers, and many of these carriers sell other products as well. Could be medical, vision, life, or disability, or voluntary benefits. And, there's maybe, depending on the market, 15 to 30 different carriers, and an employer doesn't really have the time or the know-how to have relationships with all those carriers to ask for quotes for their own benefit programs. So the broker acts as kind of the liaison between that to understand the needs of the employer and then how to go find the best match for that in the market or how to build it if it doesn't exist currently. The reason that most employers are offering dental insurance is it's really about recruitment and retention. It's a very important benefit across generations. There's up to 5 now generations working together, and most of them like dental for different reasons. I always say that the dental and vision are the only 2 benefits that show up on Instagram, and people kind of look at you a little funny until you pull out your cell phone and say selfie. So the younger demographic is obviously more interested in that, whereas we get older, our teeth do decay, and we need more severe help. So
why are you looking at me when you say older and decay?
Well, actually, I think we're about the same age, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, though, full disclosure,
Okay.
before I came on to Dental Business Radio, I did brush my teeth and floss better this morning than I have in a while. And 3 people asked me if I did that. I'm sure you get that all the time, but yeah, so I did. So it's a big recruitment and retention benefit.
We appreciate that.
Yes, because we're pretty close. You got to look at me.
Yeah.
So it's a recruitment retention benefit, and it's not an expensive benefit. And the broker helps be that liaison to help the employer understand what their employees want and need, and then how to go get that at the most advantageous price.
Gotcha. So the budget for that is always a concern, but it really pales in comparison to the overall benefit package when you think about medical and certainly like group disability, 401ks, et cetera.
So it's kind of a ratio, a good dental plan, and I'm going to be really general here, so there could be a lot of play either way, may cost $40 per month per employee, whereas a really good medical plan may cost $800 a month per employee. So there is a big price difference, and that dental is not an expensive benefit. And we're starting to see employers really lean into juicing up those benefit plans to help attract and retain top talent. It's not an expensive thing to do. Gotcha.
So walk our listeners through, and Stuart, because this is also Stuart Oberman over here is learning as well. And what are typically, just generally speaking, what are going to be the most important criteria factors when an employer is looking at various dental options? And it can't be just price, obviously.
Correct. I mean, price is always there, but because the base dollars are not huge, a 10% increase is $4 a month, which is $2 a paycheck. So a 20% increase, like, holy cow, it's 20%. Yeah, it's $4. Well, okay, maybe it's worth it, because what are we getting for that 20% more? Right. So there's a couple of things you're getting. One is network access. So which dentists are going to take the plan, which is what most families think about, is can I go to my dentist? The dentist is a very personal relationship. A family doesn't want to change because the insurance plan changed. Mm-hmm. So network access is a big one. And then 2 is how much is the annual benefit maximum? So dental is different than medical in that medical pays unlimited in a year. You can have $30 million of claims if you're unlucky, and the plan will pay it. Dental has a limited benefit, usually between $1,000 and $5,000 a year is the most the insurance carrier will pay. Mm-hmm. So per person. So they're trying to figure out how much do I need? Is this $1,000 enough? Do I need to go to $2,500? What's the price difference between the 2? Mm-hmm. Those tend to be the big elements of comparison. There's, it's a 60-page contract, so there's a lot of little things we look at inside, but they're really looking at the annual max and the network tend to be the 2 big things.
Gotcha. And, this question comes up quite a bit. Actually, I talked to docs about it, and they're like, well, why is it still $1,000 max? And I said, listen, insurance is just it's a financial vehicle, right? You want a $10,000 max, like it can be built. But the thing is, when they're looking at the plan, they're going to look at how many people actually hit the max, right? And so if there's only 3% of the people, that hit the max, then do you want to pay, even if it's, $4 more for everybody? And
yeah. And
how often are you seeing people hit this max, and what's the variation like?
The $1,000 max we're starting to see get hit more and more. Historically, very few people would cross $500 in a year of claims, but we're starting to see the annual max at $1,000 get hit more and more. So we're starting to see kind of that $1,500 is kind of the new norm for a annual max. And now I've got a couple carriers will go unlimited and actually do an unlimited plan. But if you look at the price difference, there's not a huge price difference once you cross $2,500 on an annual max, because there's just not a huge percentage that are going to incur that amount of claims. So the insurance carrier knows it, and they price it accordingly. But that looks really good if you're trying to recruit somebody and say, hey, we have a $5,000 dental plan.
Right.
It's like, oh my gosh, that's fantastic. I have to work here.
Second most requested benefit.
Absolutely.
And people want it. They think that they need dental insurance to go see dentists, which is not true. I know that, you know that. And anybody who's ever come to my house knows that, much to the chagrin of Mrs. O'Rourke, who hates me talking about that.
Chagrin's a good word.
Yeah. She's like, somebody's like, oh, Pat, I would have went to the dentist, but I don't have dental insurance. And I'm like, whistle, time out. You and me outside. We're going to have a little chat. And my wife's like, no, Jesus, not again.
Not again.
So that let's talk about network, right?
Yeah.
So there's network adequacy. There's geos. Geo, by the way, for our listeners, is about the geography. There's going to be claims disruptions. I know what all of those things are, but how important is having independent providers in the network? How deep do you guys go in analyzing the network and how important it is? And is there any type of quality metrics?
It depends on the employer. Some are very keen as to the network disruption going from carrier to carrier. In major metropolitan areas, there's usually not a huge difference between your major carriers. If a provider has joined, MetLife, they've probably also joined Guardian. There's a bunch of others. I just don't want to call those two out. But there's usually a pretty good network match. Where it changes is when you have larger employee populations in more rural areas, and there can be a lot of dentists just choosing not to join networks, period, or choosing to only join a few.
Right.
So that's where the comparison can come down, and we have the incumbent carriers run reports and tell us, okay, who's the top, 200 utilized dentists that these employees actually went to. Give me their tax ID numbers, and we give that to the other carriers, and they run the reports to say, hey, we got a 99% match on what your previous dentists were. However, we've lost, let's say, these three. So then that carrier may go out and recruit them in. That employer may be a part of that, depending on how important those providers are. If it's, the CFO's dentist, then, mountains get moved to make that happen. So network is a big deal, but to your point before, you can go to a dentist and not have to go through insurance. And if you're just getting a couple cleanings done a year, you're probably paying more in premium. But you didn't hear that from me.
Well, you have heard it from me, dear listeners, many, many times. And so it's kind of the one thing, and I'm just curious because I haven't been looking at the numbers, on that side. I've been busy on my side here. My bet was that with the advent of HSAs and FSAs, that, particularly in the smaller group market, I know you're playing in the larger group space, but in the small group market, when you're talking about under 25 employees, under 50 employees, that there's, let's say it's ABC company, right? And then you've got you got the CFO or the accountant, right? And they're like, it's $35 for premium. They do the math in their head. They're like, oh, that's $420 a year. How much does it cost me just to go to the dentist anytime I want? $360? Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll save the $40?
Yeah.
$60? $60, put in my FSA and self-insure in case I need a cavity.
Right.
Which I don't think I'll need because I've been going to see the dentist every 6 months my entire life. Right. And so they're just using that and then using the triple tax advantage, which is awesome, by the way. If you don't know what that is, please ask your financial advisor or fire the one that you have if they've never mentioned that to you. This is not financial advice. Sorry, I digress. Anyway, so you have that person then drops out. So you have, it's all about risk pool, right? So you have 25 people. The more people that's in it paying premium, right? That's what's used to pay the claims. On the other side of your spectrum at our fictional company here, let's call it ABC Widgets. You have, we're in Georgia, so let's affectionately call him Bubba. All right. Now Bubba's like $35 a month. Well, man, I got my child support and medical insurance didn't go down. I got my cancer insurance and my disability insurance. $35 a month. And so he drops out. All right. Who are the two best people to have in your risk pool? Those two.
Both those, because they're not going to incur claims. Now, we do have the issue as well that, at 25 employees for ABC Widget Company, their claims really don't matter as much inside their premium, because they're not a credible risk group of size. But your point is correct, that, part of dental insurance is around recruitment and retention. Because, but there's also the part that people will say, hey, I've got an HSA. I'm better self-insuring this. And they're absolutely Correct. The difference comes in when an employer contributes to the dental plan and says, all right, the premium's $35. Me, the employer, will kick in 20 for anybody that takes it. So it's only costing you 15.
Mm-hmm.
And now.
Or they're paying for the employee. And
Exactly. Yeah. So the math can begin to change. And we're seeing that more and more where the employers are willing to kick in some decent money to help make these plans more affordable.
Well, you'll see even more if they increase FICA tax.
Yeah.
Thanks, DC. That was facetious. All right. So network again, guys. So this is how it all works. And you're hearing it directly from somebody who's doing it every single day and has been doing it for a long time. What have you seen that's kind of new and exciting or, I mean, listen, let's face it, dental insurance, like John Ray's sleeping over there already. Hey, John Ray, we're still here, buddy. And dental insurance isn't the most exciting thing in the world, but
it hurts my heart to say it, but you're right. It's not the most exciting thing in the world.
Yeah. So but is there anything that is worth talking about out there in the market right now?
There's some new things going on. Some of the dental carriers are getting creative in how they're doing some plan design work. To insurance people, it's exciting. To a lot of other people, it's not. A couple carriers have jumped up that are new in this space, Beam Dental being one of them. They have kind of a different model where they're sending out electronic toothbrushes to every member as part of the enrollment package. And then you're getting free floss and free toothpaste and brush heads every 6 months. So the idea there is to keep the teeth cleaner, which will lower claims for them so they don't actually cost more than other dental carriers that don't provide that. So it's a different model.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Their CEO, Fro, over there's a great guy. So they're making a splash, and I think a lot of people are kind of looking at them saying, wow, that's a really kind of good idea. I'm wondering in 5 years, what's that impact really going to be on their population? So really excited to see what they're doing with that. We're seeing a lot of dental carriers really try to get aggressive on pricing around this COVID time now because there's a drop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're sitting on huge piles of money.
Yeah. So some waived premium and said, hey, we're going to waive premium for 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And, so that's kind of it kind of creates a payroll hassle if you're used to taking money out of employees' paychecks and then you have to stop. But, it's a nice gesture to say, hey, we're making a lot more money than we're used to. We're going to give some of it back. So, the innovation in dental insurance is only so exciting. For me, it is, but,
Yeah, I mean, for me too. I love it.
I almost put you to sleep with that, so I'm sorry.
No. You said something actually quite important. And so it's not just me saying it, but on the provider side, there's two different sides now and that I've learned over the course of the past 8 years, right? Since I've left the corporate insurance world and started doing practice quotient. There is the consumer, right? Distribution, right? So think employer groups, think members, think subscribers, think brokers, right? There's one communication. And then we have the provider community. Yeah. All right. And so then there's like a whole different dialogue that's happening over there. And what they're telling me as a representative, they're like, oh, we got to bring our cost down, our cost of care. We have to bring it down. And And I'm like, really? Really? Tell me more. Did somebody tell you that or did you actually look at the numbers? Right. Is that Kool-Aid you're drinking over there? Because I understand the numbers really, really well. Sorry, a little distracted there. John Ray's distracting sometimes. So our producer, John Ray, is walking around like the paparazzi taking pictures. So you can check him out on the website. So at any rate, I don't want to, knock the shine and the hustle of some of the carriers and their compelling rhetoric that they come with. But, I know you guys are listening. So just so you know, I see you. Anyways, so with that, the Beam Dental, that's interesting.
It's a really interesting idea that they're coming out with. And it's a great team of people. They're good people.
Where are they out of?
I knew you were going to ask me that. I think the Midwest somewhere.
Gotcha.
Maybe Kansas. It's not Kansas, but
So have you seen
they're all over the place. They're a national.
It's my last dorking out on dental insurance. So how are the renewals going? Like how did 1/1? Nobody knows how to price that, but what are you seeing for like 7/1? Renewals got to be flat at this point.
They've been flat. flat or decrease. So yeah, dental's not an expensive commodity right now on the insurance side. We're seeing employers tend to lean in and buy richer plans now. Mm-hmm. And I think, again, back to that recruitment and retention, the employer is trying to, steal the best talent from somewhere. Mm-hmm. And a very cost effective manner to do that is with a very rich dental policy or vision policy or disability policy, because medical is just so expensive.
Mm-hmm. Very, very true. And so before we leave you, Josh, and we go to the great Stuart Oberman, tell us a little bit about the firm that you are now part of.
Sure. So I'm with a company called OneDigital Health and Benefits. We're headquartered here in Atlanta. We're in the top 5 of the largest benefit consulting firms in the country. I'm going to get the numbers somewhat wrong, 120 offices across the country, about 3,000 employees. Do a fantastic job of employer groups from all sizes, 2 employees up to 300,000, and self-funded, fully insured, level funded, all the different mechanisms there. So I've been with them now for 4 years. We sold our practice in about 4 years ago, and it's been a great move for us. So we're very excited about it.
Well, it's got you and David Pittard.
That's right.
It's
hard to get us.
It is. Then that's the spot to be. So thank you very much, Josh Roland. We are going to bring in our other guest, and then we'll bring you back in, Josh. So don't go anywhere. We will have more fun, I promise. Stuart, how are you doing over there?
Good, sir. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm not wearing a tie like you.
I
but
can't.
It's okay. You're a lawyer. You're supposed to be dressed better than me.
But you're much better looking than I am.
Oh, well, that's it's all in the eye of the beholder, So it just kind of depends on who you ask. So if you ask somebody that has poor eyesight, then I might win, But anyways, so Stuart is an attorney. And I think all of our listeners understand what attorneys do. But Stuart is a little bit. He's very involved in the dental world. He's quite well known and popular throughout the southeastern United States and Texas. And I'm sure he'll tell us a little bit more. But I have a great respect for Stuart, and so I wanted to bring Stuart on the show so that we could talk about what he is seeing. I have a couple things I want to ask, but first I want to see if you have any thoughts, anything what's new and exciting in Stuart's world?
Oh gosh, where to start? Little background. So we have a lot of resources to draw from. We are very, very fortunate as far as the markets go. We have clients in probably 28 states, California, Maine, and Florida.
Wow.
All the same problems, all the same issues. The only thing changes is the states. Whether you've got one practice, or 20, you probably got the same problems. So, COVID-19 changed everything. It brought in teledentistry. It brought in compliance problems. It brought in HR problems. Those problems were already there. It just magnified 97-fold. So we are seeing a lot of activity in the compliance side. HR side is a huge, huge issue right now. Technology is a huge issue. We're seeing more breaches, security-wise, than we've ever seen. We're seeing more expansion in patient care than we've ever seen. Teledentistry is absolutely exploding right now. We're very fortunate. We do a lot on the physician side also. We have a lot of exposure to the telemedicine side on the physician side. Dentistry is probably 10 years behind the medical side, but it's coming. And we're seeing a lot of the same scenarios that we've seen 10 years ago on the teledentistry side, or medical side rather, in the teledentistry. I would say those couple of things are probably the biggest areas that we've seen explosion-wise. Of course, you got the DSO market, which is, everyone under the sun literally wants to start a DSO. We get calls, I don't know how many times a day. I want to start a DSO. I want to get out of the chair. I'm done clinically. I've been practicing 10 years. I'm done. I want to start buying and selling. So then you run into liquidity problems. We had a very good call, or I had a call last Friday, and I had a good call today with Lauren Mansour in our office. Also does a lot of healthcare. And
hi, Lauren.
Yeah, does a great job.
She does do a good job.
Great job. No enormous talent. Great job. So, one particular lender last year, because COVID didn't hit their numbers, and I was asking the lender, they got 1,000 lenders on the platform that they got to put money on the street. So one particular lender had $1 billion they had to put on the street in healthcare. $1 billion.
Wow.
They didn't even hit their market. So it's gone. That revenue's already gone. So they got to roll it over to something else.
So what do I got to do to be considered healthcare, Stuart? Like, can I just call myself Dr. O'Rourke?
Well, of course, you got to be a licensed professional, especially in the dental side.
All right. You're a lawyer. Make it happen, man.
Yeah, there you go. But there's a lot of exciting things happening. There's a lot of stuff going on.
All right.
There's a lot of stuff.
When you said teledentistry and telemedicine, I saw Josh Roland nodding his head vigorously. From the employer side, how's that working out?
Telemedicine's exploding. Teledentistry, like you said, is about 10 years behind, but it's raising a lot of eyebrows. As this is interesting, we should dig into this further. So I think it's in its infancy, but it's here to stay.
Gotcha. And so that's, when he says that means that there's going to be huge demand because that's where he's at the tip of that spear. Yeah. So all the folks that are setting it up and structuring it, what you're doing is you're setting up the platform for them to succeed long term.
Well, you got a lot of issues. So you've got the platform, you got to pick the right platform. That's, there's some out there that have some good platforms. There's some that got some really bad platforms.
Define platform for me.
So platform is nothing more than I'll use the word the cloud.
Okay.
Where you basically have data stored. You've got patients coming in, coming out. Some are direct networks where you have the dental offices going directly to the patient. Some you have actually where the patient is actually going into a lobby, if you will, on the cloud. And then at that point, the doctors, the dentists are getting summoned that the patient is in the room. And then next thing you know, you got video conference capabilities. Now, what we're running into, the problem is that you've got two different platforms that our doctors don't really realize, which is a mess compliance-wise. You've got asynchronous and synchronous. So a lot of the pharmaceutical, well, I'm back up on that. You've got a lot of the physicians that are in the telemedicine space that are not in compliance. They're not talking to the patients. They're going, asynchronous, which is basically, I'm going to read your chart. I'm going to read your question and answers. I'm going to do the check. What's your history? And then I'm going to issue a prescription, which is a recipe for disaster. So
sounds like it.
It is. You can't do that on the dental side. So the states are way behind on the dental side right now. Of course, the law is always, probably 5 or 10 years behind technology. So right now the states are wrestling with capabilities on how to enforce that, because what's happening is that they've seen what really goes on the medical side, and then they don't want that going into dentistry. So it's a very, very tight noose right now on that. But we're saying, hey, you know what? If you want to use teledentistry, use it for certain things. Use it for customer service. Use it for, we always say when I speak, why in the world are you going to ask the patient to be 7 questions? Have you been exposed? Been overseas? Have you, has anyone been exposed to COVID-19? Why don't you ask that on a FaceTime, on a Zoom? Why bring that patient in there and waste your staff's time? The next thing you know, you got, and if they answer yes to any of those questions, and you got patients in the lobby, you got staff that's going back and forth, they're exposed, which is a whole nother mess.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So now like a little light bulb just went off. I'm like, yes. So COVID, HR, holy smokes.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah. So
good stuff.
It's like everything is a time bomb.
It's a time bomb.
All right. Well, that's got to keep you busy, but then you got to, kind of part of your job is to articulate the risks and get the clients to accept it and take action. And that can be difficult.
That's a whole nother world. That's a whole nother world.
So do you find that the provider community is receptive? Are they proactive or are they reactive when you go in there? You
got 2 schools. You really got 3 schools. You got guys that are checking out. They're done. Forget about it. I'm running into the sunset. I'm 2 years away from retiring. I'm not doing nothing. I don't even do social media. Then you got the middle tier guys. They're back practicing 15, 20 years. They're like on this edge. Do I go or not go? So I think the ones that are really, really sharp will go and flow. They will get the technology. They're going to upgrade. So they're going to buy $100,000 machines. They're going to advance into that, right? But then you got that segment of that middle tier that doesn't want to practice anymore. So then they're like, well, okay, do I expand out or do I just buy or sort of coast through? Then you've got the younger guys, who are coming out of school with so much debt, they're 5 or 10 years away from anything. So, but they want to explode. They want to expand out. The problem is that to buy a dental practice for the younger guys, they can't compete right now with the DSOs.
Yeah, it's too much money.
Not when you're paying 100%. You know, you pay 100% plus. Equity rollovers and those kind of things. So the middle guys we're seeing a lot of movement right now in partnerships because a lot of older guys I say older guys, more experienced dentists don't want to deal with the DSOs because they got certain requirements coming in as far as what the sellers have got to do. So they're coming in on the partnership side. So we're seeing a lot of growth on the partnership side. But really from that standpoint, there's those 3 tiers. And either they're going to, go into teledentistry or they're going to expand out into, the more sophisticated treatment, or they're just going to ride into the sunset. So we've found the ones that really, really, really did well were the ones through this whole COVID. Some of my guys had the best year ever. I'll say a lot of them did. And some of them that were not stable anyhow crashed. So you're going to have that 10 or 15% that's going to crash no matter what they do. And you're going to have that 15 or 20% that's going to expand out and be top of the tops. Then you got that middle tier that's always going to sort of teeter. Other than that, not much else is going on.
Well, that's not a lot. I mean, it's just like a hammock and a little sea breeze. You got to do the crossword over there. So there's certainly a lot of consolidation, and I think my experience and the experience of my team have also bears that too. So there's the partnerships, the tax ID changes, the moving, the expansion, the associate models. There's just a lot of, it's exciting, but there's a lot that's happening as far as strategic business planning changes in the past 18 months. So what are some of the things that our listeners, if they're exploring, because part of this show is I've had lots of folks on that are providers. I've had the partnership model on, I've had corporate or DSO on, good one. Hello, Mark. And I've had, also a larger group practice where there's, the more traditional kind of buy-in, partnership type of thing. So I've had lots of those. I've had fee for service only on here. What do you think, if Dr. John Ray over there, let's say that he's looking at options, and he's your client and he's like, I don't know what I got to, I've got a pretty good practice. I got $1 million practice over here. But, I could zig or I could zag. Like, what do you tell him?
Know where you want to go. What are you going to do? Where do you want to go in 5 years, 3 years, 2 years? Huge difference. So, if you're looking to sell, the market is great. You've got individual buyers out there that have a specific niche. Then you've got the DSO side, which is a whole different world. So DSOs come in, you're going to be tied to certain numbers. So you're going to work for them 2 or 3 years. Otherwise, they're probably not even going to talk to you. Then that point is, let's say, you got $1 million, $2 million practice. If you're too successful, you're too big to fail. So if you're too successful, you got $2 million practice, $3 million, lenders get a little, squeamish on that side. So then it's, you're almost too big, there's only so many guys that can take you down. So you got a $5 or $7 million practice. You're not going to go to an individual buyer. You're going straight to corporate. The lenders won't touch you for the most part. So you've got to decide really where you want to go. If you want to ride into the sunset, you want a 6-month plan, 12-month plan. That's an individual buyer. If you're going to stay and want to practice dentistry and get out of the management side, you're going to be pretty much required to stay 2 or 3 years. So then you've got certain holdbacks. They're going to hold back about 10, 20% of your sale price. They're going to make sure that you're staying honest, if you will. You're going to be on board. Then you've got equity rollovers, which is a whole different world. So you got XYZ DSO. They may offer you 10 or 20% stock. So then you've got A class, B, A class, C class, B class, whatever class they have multiples. So depending on what they do, depending on what the structure is, you've got additional money tied up, anywhere from maybe 10 to 20% in stock.
It's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. So now all of a sudden you've got a holdback and you got reinvestment. You better you better hope those guys recap pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
Some have not recapped as quick as they originally were projected. So there's some out there that have cash flow problems. Some are really strong. Some are struggling. So you got to really take a look at. You got to really drill down on your numbers where you want to go. Yeah, you got to clean up. You got to clean up your numbers. So everything is EBITDA based now, and it's like, well, my numbers aren't where it is. Well, you got to start. Good Lord, you got to start running the boat through the. You got to start running the boat payment through the. The
math, Josh Roland. What a concept.
Math is scary.
Yeah. So you got to figure out where you want to go. I mean, because you can't decide tomorrow. Well, you know what? I'm going to sell to a DSO, and your numbers are garbage.
Amen. And it's piss poor planning. What's the saying? Piss
poor performance.
Yeah, piss poor planning equals piss poor performance, or failure to plan is planning to fail.
You got guys that $400,000, $500,000, $600,000. They're stroking it through 2 or 3 days a week. They're like, well, 100% of revenue. It ain't gonna happen. My buddy sold for 100% of revenue. Yeah, your buddy's $2.5 million.
My friend, the dentist.
Yeah, you at 600,000. You're not gonna do so good.
Yeah, it's one thing.
Other than that, not much else is going on.
Yeah,
it's pretty quiet.
It's been my observation though that there's so much activity that there's proactive reach out on behalf of investment banks that are really, pardon my simpleness, but fancy words for practice broker. And, talking to a lot of, specialists and, general dentists. And there's also just direct relationships. I see a lot of direct stuff more than I used to. And I don't know whether that's good or bad. It's not really my forte. Let's say John Ray over here, is, he gets approached by, We Love Teeth equity firm, and they want to buy him. And
I've heard of those guys.
Yeah. Smiles to the universe. And they're like, hey, well, listen, we want to buy you. And they whisper sweet nothings into his ear, but he doesn't have anybody who's really gone over all the numbers. What do you tell John Ray? Because John Ray can't do math real well.
Take a step back, figure out what you want to do. These guys are sending out letters to thousands and thousands and thousands of doctors. Thousands.
Are you telling me I'm not special?
You are special. You've always been special to me, but you're special. You got some DSOs that only take 3% of what they market to. That's top of the top. So, you get a letter from, XYZ, DSO that just came about yesterday, and they got a little money in little money in the kitty. They just got funding for $3 to $5 million, which is really nothing nowadays. Unless you got 15 or 20 million sitting in, on the sidelines, you're not going to do much. But, so it's really, what do you want to do? I mean, if you're just, you're just stroking it along and you've been doing good, you have no marketing, you got no plan, your revenues are flat, or in decline, which is a disaster. If your numbers are flat or in decline, you better just take a step back and figure out what you want to do for the next 2 or 3 years, because you're not going to get a good sale.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get that letter from the DSO and you think this is a pretty good deal, making 1.5, 1.7, 2 million, I need to look at this. How am I going to maintain? And then you're looking at 6 or 8 months down the road for a close. A lot of times, the due diligence on a DSO buyout will wear you out. They will wear you out.
Yeah, they already wear me out.
They will wear you out. And
they keep asking me questions. Are these numbers real? And I'm like, did I put them on there?
Yeah,
it's real.
It's a
Stop calling me.
The due diligence. We were talking to a lender, basically a lender broker today that's got the $1,000 platform. They're like, before we even touch this deal, we want you to do the due diligence, and we want you to present the due diligence to us, so we can present it to our lenders, our platform lenders, whatever it is. So before you even get to that dance, they want due diligence. So due diligence on that side, you're talking about quality of earnings reports that are, cost these guys, DSOs, 20, 25,000 that they're going to spend to figure out where your future's going. versus, John Smith that is selling to, Steve Frank, is practicing for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to know your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, get out of the market because you're going to get hammered. You're going to shoot yourself in the foot.
Mm-hmm. I like that. In fact, it could be like a slogan for the show. You got to know your numbers.
You got to know your numbers. I don't care what profession you're in.
Shoot yourself in the foot was the slogan.
Yeah, you just got to know your numbers. I mean, it's that simple. If your CPA can't figure out what your EBITDA is, then you need to get another CPA.
Yeah,
I mean that with all sincerity.
I couldn't agree with you more, Stuart. That's why we get along. There's a lot of goofy stuff that happened in this little business niche of ours. And, one of the things that the aim and goal of this show is to help promote the truth, right? And dispel any misconceptions or myths out there. And I did hear one thing that I hear a lot about several topics, and that's like, well, my buddy got X, and it's not just about financial evaluation. It's also about fee schedules. It's also about all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Why is it that, especially with general dentists, they won't make a move unless another general dentist blesses it, like the Pope? Like, what's the deal with that?
Well, they're conservative business guys in general. You've got really two types. One, they're very conservative. They play it safe. They go by the numbers. No risk without, sort of collaboration from the community, if you will. You got to remember, you guys know it. It's a very close market, very close.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're probably 2 steps away from someone in California they can call, in a heartbeat. So it's a very, very close community. And it's just an industry that's cautious by nature. So they don't make a move, but some guys, that are more business astute, some guys that are more aggressive, that are not necessarily, intolerable to risk adverse. They're very aggressive. I mean, they'll roll the dice, and we all know some of those, but as a whole, they're business guys. A lot of them are, solos or small groups. They watch their numbers and they're just conservative. And they really want to, consult their advisors, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
But
they still got to talk before they even hire Stuart. What do they say? They're like, all right, Stuart, I've heard you on Dental Business Radio. You really sound like you know what you're talking about. But what other dentists can I talk to first that will bless you, right? Because I need that. I need to have that blessing.
You'll get the vetting process. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I'm vetted.
Process
from a dentist in California.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I've got the blessing too, but I kind of, I me, you know me well enough. You know me for years too. I like to have a little fun, and I'm like, so listen, hey guys, you guys you say, hey, is that mechanic any good? What about that barber?
Yeah.
How come everybody in this room doesn't have the same haircut? Huh? Oh, you guys must not have been talking to each other then, not that much.
In today's market, everything is social media, LinkedIn, posting this and that. But, honestly, the best source of, revenue and client acquisition is word of mouth.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Word of mouth, and that's lost in today's world. So the dentists, we're all in that market pretty close. And the dentist, there's only really 2 or 3 people that do it hard, do it full time, and do it well in each state. I mean, if you look at it, there's probably 2 or 3 CPAs that could stand out in any market. 2 or 3 attorneys stand in a market. You guys, you know the players in the market. You go next door to South and North Carolina. You know who it is. If not, you find out in 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very close market, and it's all referrals.
Right. And I do think though that there's, hold on, I'm trying to be polite here. There's a parade of
why start?
Parade of ass clowns that go into our clients' practices and rip them off and steal from them and do other things that I don't respect. And this is me being polite, by the way.
Parade of Ass Clowns is the name of my new metal band, by the way.
Well, yeah, look,
but hear me out. In Georgia, right? because I'm here and we all know each other and everybody knows everybody, I feel like it's better like monitored, but I think that there's somebody pops up every now and then, and Lord, like I've seen so much like theft from the office managers or something. Like I think
that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah.
Right there.
I think that they just got burned. Like that's my story. That's my theory is that they're, they've been burned or they've heard about other people getting burned. And so that's why it's cautious. Right. And so I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm just kind of musing, amongst us here on Dental Business Radio. What I do is I go, I know Stuart Oberman. And then they're like, is he a dentist?
I pulled a lot of things with never teeth, right? But look, we all know the dentists that have just made some really bad decisions. But I think if we're doing our job, the ultimate decline is number one. That's number one.
Amen.
And you guys, I'm sure, tell your clients, call me if you have any questions. If I can't solve your problem, I'll get you to the point where I can solve your problems. So if we can facilitate those relationships, we all go to dental schools and we talk to the students and say, look, you got to make sure you know who you're dealing with, and you're going to have really good advisors and not good advisors, and if you're my client, we will tell you this is a really good deal or a really bad deal, and we will tell you that I don't know the answer to that, or that's out of my wheelhouse, but I'm going to get you to the right, broker or to the right insurance guy. So I think we've got to facilitate those relationships, and it just, keeps coming back to us.
Sure. Amen. I mean, I'll tell you what, it frequently,
and I know you guys do that. I know you guys do that.
I'll tell you this. I say this frequently, every single day, multiple times a day. My opinion is not a substitute for qualified legal counsel licensed to practice law in your state. And this is a legal question. You need to consult with your attorney. Oh, you don't have a good attorney. Well, you should contact Stuart Oberman. And so if somebody that's listening right now, wanted to contact Stuart Oberman, an Oberman Law Firm, the powerhouse juggernaut that's now all over it's not just Loganville. Now it's where?
Well, we got.
Well, you're in 28 states, I know, but we're still here in Georgia. Georgia's important.
So we do. We have an office in Loganville and an office in Cumming.
Gotcha.
So
very good. And hey, listen, Beavis is out there. It's Cumming, Georgia, in Forsyth County. It's actually a very affluent area. It's very nice. I have a lot of friends.
Beautiful area.
And so if folks were looking for you, I know that you're very active on social media, and doing a lot of other things. You're quite visible and active individual. You have a lot of energy. I admire that about you.
I drink a lot of Diet Cokes.
Is that the deal?
That's the deal.
I drink Pellegrino. I love saying Pellegrino.
That's where I got a 16-ounce tall boy sitting right here.
Very nice. Very nice. So if our listeners wanted to reach you to answer some of the questions, maybe they had some of the questions that you brought up before, how would they find Stuart Oberman?
So, obviously phone number, 770-886-2400. Email Stuart, Stuart, at obermanlaw.com. We try to do everything we can to really facilitate questions and answers, and especially with the listeners. So,
gotcha.
Try to do what we can.
Any good events coming up?
Yeah, we got a couple good events coming up. Actually, we got 3 next week. So on Thursday, doing a national convention. The American Healthcare Lawyers Association discussing transitions. So to
practice transitions, just to be clear.
Well, yeah, it's being presented to other lawyers. So it's quite a prep because those guys in the room know what they're doing. So I got to be one step smarter than the audience. That's good. We got some question and answer sessions going on with MCG down in Augusta, the dental students ethics class. And then we've got a webinar. The MCG, I can't remember what college they are this time. I just
Medical College of Georgia.
Yeah, I just call them MCG
in Augusta.
Yeah, I just got the dental school. The dental school.
Yes.
That's at 8:00. Then we got a webinar at 10:00.
Gotcha.
Then I'm not sure what else is after following.
That's all right. You know what your schedule is for the next week. I look at my calendar in the morning and I look at my phone. If it said drive to Montreal, I would be in Canada by lunch, you know. That's
Gotta get there.
That's
it's
what
a lot
I
of
do.
fun. It's and we all enjoy doing it. It's all value added for our clients, and that's the name of the game.
Well, one of the things I like what you do is that you help educate the kids, you know, over there. I remember when you brought me over that one time, and I was there for a while, and I'm like, nobody told you any of this stuff, and I'm like, oh Lord, we're going to be here for a while.
Yeah,
and I felt bad, and so I feel like there's somebody has to do that, but it's so foreign. So keep doing what you're doing. But Stuart is also a sought after speaker. So if you want an expert to talk about any of these topics, Stuart is your man. Your host, Patrick O'Rourke, occasionally gets out there and talks about.
Come on now, you're on the road a lot. Come on now.
I did a lot of lecturing before COVID, pre-COVID. That's why I started Dental Business Radio, because I got a lot to say, you know, and my wife is sick of hearing me talk about it. So she's like, get out of here.
You're just not another pretty face, huh?
So, but yeah, as things are opening back up,
and they are.
They are. I heard the Hinman happened, last week.
Yeah. I was just in Nashville, giving another speech, on a different healthcare topic. It was good. It was good. 15, 20 other professionals were in the room. It's opening up. It's opening up. So that's good to hear. It's opening up.
The light, she is shining at the end of the tunnel.
That's it.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank you, Stuart. Now, Josh Roland, one more time for all the folks who did not get their pen out fast enough. If they need expert benefit employer group counsel, and they are CFOs, VPs of HR, CEOs, business owners.
Yeah, if it's of size.
Very good. And what does size mean?
Oh, I was just being facetious. We work with all size groups. So,
gotcha. 2
employees on up, from everything from the medical, dental, vision, life, disability, all that. So disability insurance is a big deal with dentists. It can be a challenge, but
so
that's another show.
Yes, we should do that, because you're probably one of the only other people that are certified in disability. I can talk about the nuances of disability coverage all day long.
That's right.
But John Ray's like, nah, I'm not showing up for that show, buddy.
Hey, one thing. So, first time, thank you for having me on, and Josh. I know.
It's my pleasure.
I never met Josh, and for the audience to know, you're absolutely tireless on the road. You're absolutely tirelessly giving back. So,
thank
this
you.
is really perfect what you're doing and getting some information out. So I know I appreciate it, and I know a lot of guys in the industry appreciate it.
Absolutely.
It's sitting here. It's amazing how much work goes into this, how much time you and I've talked about spending on this stuff, and so it's amazing what you're doing. So good job.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And, dear listeners, if you agree with Stuart Oberman, who's a very smart man, I think that you should take action right now and rate this show 5 stars. 5 stars. And if you do, I can promise you a return on investment of good karma. That's right.
It's a guarantee.
Guaranteed. All right. So with that, I'd also like to thank our sponsor, Practice Quotient, BPO analysis and negotiation, top tier compensation for top tier providers. If you are a top tier provider and you're not getting top tier compensation, or you're working for 50 cents on the dollar, just stop it and call us at 470-592-1680, www.practicequotient.com. Thank you very much to everybody at Practice Quotient. Thank you to John Ray, Stone, everybody at Business RadioX for their excellent production work. And this is your host, Patrick O'Rourke. Until next time.